Okay, I'm just letting people in. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. We will kick off in another minute, just so we're starting not early. But while you are in the waiting room, if you could pop in the chat, find the chat box, and just let us know where you're tuning in from. It will help us tonight when we're talking about things, if we know who we're chatting to and whether you're going to need visas and things like that. So if you could just find the chat box and pop in there where you're tuning in from, that would be great. I think we've had a few people from South Africa on today, which is great. I think you've got up early in the morning, is that right? And while you do that, I will just try and find out how we can get these videos. View speaker. Thank you. Can you see the chat box, Russell and Rachel and Jake?
Yep.
You found it as well. Great. All right. So it looks like we have mainly people from South Africa and Malaysia on the call. Is there anyone from New Zealand tuning in? I know that we had people registered. It is actually a stunning day in New Zealand for once, so people are probably still enjoying the sun. Okay, well, we will be recording this meeting as well, so it will be sent out to anyone else who isn't on this call, so it will be a good, useful resource. And one more thing before we kick off, can you please let me know that you can see the slides on the screen, the picture where you're tuning in from, and can you see me and hear me? Anyone else? Oh, yep. So you can see us as well? Yep. Okay. Yes for slides, no for clear. Okay. All right. Speaker view. All right. I'm going to pull us over. Oh, I don't know how to get myself up there. Sorry. What I'll do is I'm going to kick off and I'm going to work on that in the background once I've passed over to someone else. You'll see some pictures of us soon to see who's on the call. So we are doing a niche webinar tonight. We do run general sessions on teaching in Australia across the country, but tonight's a special one and we're really lucky. We've been joined by some experts who are sitting right now in Western Australia. They've got up in the morning to chat to you, and we've also got Russell from South Australia sitting in Adelaide. So I'll introduce myself first and then I'll pass over to these guys. I'm tuning in from New Zealand, so we're a truly global webinar at the moment. It's 6 o'clock here in New Zealand. I am a primary trained teacher and I taught in New Zealand, and then my experience teaching globally is moving over to teach in England. So I went and lived and worked in London for a couple of years, and then when I came back I started sort of in this type of role, supporting educators moving around the world and having different teaching experiences. So while I'm based here in New Zealand, we do support people right across the globe, as you'll soon see. I'll pass over to Jake now, and he can introduce you, and I'll try and get his video up while he's talking.
Hi guys. Thanks Claire. My name's Jake. I am the state manager here in Western Australia. I actually came over to Western Australia 15 years ago as a high school English teacher working in the country, and did 14 years, just over 14 years working regional, remote, metro, all the way into the sort of the wheat belt, all the way up to the Kimberley and out in the desert. And then the last 3 years I was working as the principal of quite a school in Perth suburbs. I've been with ANZUK UK for the last 10 months and transitioning into helping people find jobs all around Western Australia.
Awesome. It's a pretty good transition from being principal to moving
Absolutely.
into this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ever so slightly different role, but it is, it's a great thing to do.
Yeah, Cool. And we've also got Rachel in the Perth team as well. Again, I'm having trouble videos, sorry.
Hi everyone, my name is Rachel. I'm from London in the UK. Moved over here earlier on in the year. Used to work in education recruitment back in London and now doing it over here in Western Australia. So yeah, I'm familiar with the moves that you guys might be making later on. But yeah, that's me.
Great. Sorry, I've had to resort to the basics. And we've got Russell, Russell in Adelaide. Half past 11 in the morning it is there, is that right?
Hi guys, yep, thanks Claire, thanks Jake, thanks Rachel. I'm Russell, I'm born and bred in Adelaide, so I'm the ANZ UK recruitment consultant down here and help a lot of international teachers make the journey over to South Australia and find them into some good jobs in regional parts and in Metro Adelaide. So yeah, been recruiting for over 6-7 years in different sectors and definitely love recruiting in the education sector.
Cool, fantastic. So what we're going to do tonight is, we'll tell you a little bit about who we are and then we'll go over what we're going to cover. But I think we had Russell down to let you know a bit more about ANZ UK.
Thanks, Claire. So yeah, so anyone that's new to ANZ UK Education, so over the past 21 years, we've supported educators to travel and teach in new countries and new locations. The team is here to obviously help you through the entire journey. You know, we're a specialist in Australian recruitment, in education recruitment especially. We're based in 9 Australian offices and globally in New Zealand, Canada, USA and in the UK as well. So providing that 360 degree of support throughout your teaching career.
Cool, thanks, Russell. And it means that you've always got support on the ground wherever you're moving. If you're making the move to Australia, we have a really solid network on the ground in country there to help you. So we should be done in 45 minutes this morning, tonight. So we'll be covering what you need to know about how to move to Australia and become a teacher there. We'll talk a little bit about their education system, some work opportunities. We'll have some examples of current positions and then how we support you as well. We will have questions at the end, but do feel free to ask them as we go if you put them in the chat box. So we can't have videos and chat microphones going, but you can pop in the chat box if we're talking and you think, oh, I wouldn't mind knowing that, then we can try and answer some questions as we go as well. If you can keep the questions generally broad rather than around specific circumstances, and then we can talk to you more individually after the webinar. So the very first thing you need to know about making the move to Australia is that you need the right to work there. So that's in the form of if you're a New Zealand passport holder, you are then an immediate permanent resident for Australia. So that's a really easy transition. There's nothing to do before you arrive into Australia. You can turn up on a one-way ticket and that permanent residency just happens in the background. So yeah, obviously New Zealand, Australian passport holders, nothing to do. If you have another passport from another geography, such as South Africa or Malaysia, there will likely be other avenues for you to apply for a visa. But it's really important at this stage to state that ANZ UK, we support you in finding a role. We are not visa experts, so we're not in a position to be able to advise you on what visa to get or how to apply for a visa. So if you're at that stage of your journey, we recommend that you consult a visa migration agent and work through that process with them. So really common visas, some of them, I think if you have a Malaysian passport, you can, and you're under a certain age, you can apply for a working holiday visa, and those ones are pretty straightforward to get. But otherwise, the most common avenues are the 189 or the 190 visas that you could look at exploring. We have put sponsorship down, but it's a very, very competitive area to try and a visa to try and access. You need to be right at the top of experience. You need to be in secondary sort of STEM subject areas and have an excellent CV. So we can sort of talk to you about eligibility for that as well. So we do have a link there for Migration Network Australia. If you're based in South Africa, we recommend Marlene Prentice, who is connected with Migration Network. She is really well experienced at sourcing those visas, particularly for educators moving to Australia. Your teaching qualifications do need to be assessed by the Australian authorities, and it needs to come out as equivalent, and you also will need to do an IELTS test, and you need to have these scores. So those are sort of all the requirements to get those visas, and we have seen them taking around 6 to 9 months average processing time. The other thing that you will need if you're applying from other geographies around that qualification, the general requirements is that it's been a 4-year qualification or equivalent. So that could be 3 years of a degree plus the extra year study in your teacher education course. And then they're quite firm on identifying that you've done 45 days of supervised placements. That's sort of your practicum part of your teacher training. So that all of that sort of information will be given to you through the immigration support team, or if you've got the New Zealand passport or a working holiday visa, then we can sort of take you through that process. If you are registered as a teacher in New Zealand, then you're eligible for the Trans-Tasman Mutual Recognition Pathway, and that makes it a lot easier. It means that even if you've just done a 3-year bachelor's degree, if you've done that in teaching, you will still be able to be recognised as a teacher because you're registered in New Zealand. So that pathway is great. The Australian curriculum is exam-based, so I haven't taught under the Australian curriculum. Jake, Russell, do you want to chime in on it? Jake, you might know it very well, but is it very close to the UK curriculum, would you say?
It is slightly different to the UK curriculum, but it's not radically different. As you say, exam-based. It's foundation to Year 12, so continuous curriculum that sets a skill standard from when they arrive at school at 6 years old until they finish up at 18. It is national, so the curriculum's taught in every state in Australia with some slight differences. However, it all ends in a standard score at the end, or a standard qualification at the end, being an Australian tertiary admissions rank, which is a score out of 100 that gives you your ranking to enter university.
Amazing. Thank you. You said that so much better than I ever could. And the other thing I should have said at the start is Australia's, each state has their own governing body. So, if you're moving to somewhere like New Zealand to teach, we have a teaching council that does the whole country. In Australia, every state has their own individual body to register with. So each one is a little bit different, and tonight we'll touch on the process for registering with WA and SA. And just for a little break, another one before we move on to the next slide, if you could again pop over into the chat box and let us know what you teach. Are you primary trained, or if you're secondary, if you let us know secondary and what subject areas you teach. Again, that helps us. If we've got all secondary teachers on, we might sort of tailor it a bit differently. While you're doing that, we're going to jump straight into life in Western Australia. It doesn't quite fit, actually.
Oh. Okay. WA. WA is famous for being hot, although over the last few months it hasn't been hot in Western Australia. We have a couple of months a year where it rains and is a little bit miserable, but for the rest of the time, very famously sunny, a little bit sleepy. WA has a reputation, or Perth has a reputation of being sort of an overgrown country town, which I think a lot of people coming from places like South Africa and New Zealand really do appreciate. It isn't quite the hubbub and the metropolitan feeling of a place like Melbourne or Sydney. Very much a place for the outdoors, beaches, bushwalking, lots and lots of space, and a really can be quite a relaxed and easy place to live. WA's got as you've probably known from looking at a map, is a very, very, very large place, larger than the vast majority of countries. So there's a real opportunity if you are interested to work in regional areas, Aboriginal communities, everything from little farming towns all the way out into super, super remote areas, plus then also big Perth metropolitan and quite a few growing sort of regional cities. Yeah, a beautiful place, strong salaries. Senior teacher in Western Australia gets up to about $126,000. And if you are going regional, some strong incentives, regional housing, remote pay packages, things like that. Great place to be.
Yeah, we sort of hear all about the beaches here in New Zealand. You get all the beautiful photos of the coastline, and yeah, it looks stunning.
Beaches
and cheap
beaches that you can actually go to. Beaches that are actually warm. Being from Tasmania, which is not too dissimilar from New Zealand, it is lovely to go to a beach and not have to wear a jumper.
Yeah. And what was I going to say about Perth, WA? Oh, I can't remember. I'll come to it. I can't remember what I was going to say. The quokka.
So, yeah, we'll talk through what the job market looks like in Western Australia. We here at ANZ UK, we work with schools across sectors, independent sector, faith-based sectors, Catholic schools, and then obviously a really, really large public school system. Schools in Metro all the way out to, if you look at the very, very top of the state up there, we've got schools out that way, and we've got schools in the Metro region as well. Leadership, executive roles, head of department roles, it's a big state and it's a big system. So there's lots and lots of different opportunities if you are interested in coming to Western Australia.
Cool. That was what I was going to say when I was looking at the map. It's not far from Bali, is it? Like if you wanted to go.
No, yeah, Bali is our holiday destination. It's about a 2-hour flight to Bali, 2 hours and 15 minutes.
2 hours. Oh,
it's actually quicker to get to Bali than it is to Melbourne, and it's generally cheaper to get to Bali than it is to Melbourne as well. So
that's crazy.
Bali often considered a northern suburb of Perth.
Oh, wow. Lucky. Actually, and I can't quite see my chat box properly, Jake, but someone just asked what areas of, I'll go back. What areas of regional WA do we cover?
Pretty much all of them at the moment. So look, we work with schools in the Kimberley. So the Kimberley is the very, very far north. We work with schools in the Pilbara, Port Hedland, which is sort of that mid, about 3/4 of the way up. We have been starting to work with some schools down in the Great Southern, which is the south coast of Western Australia.
Wow.
All across, it's as I said, it's a big state and there's an awful lot of schools around. So
it's massive. Wow. Okay, and registration.
So yes, registering with Western Australia, first and foremost, obviously after you've organised your visa, is getting registered with the Teachers Registration Board. So that's the TRBWA. We've already put the link in the chat, and we'll send out some more information to people at the end of this. You can register internationally. It can take up to about 10 weeks. So it is your main priority if you are coming over, is getting registered. As I said, it can be a little bit of a slow process and a bit of paperwork. I think you've even got it there. Overseas fee of about $470. If you were in New Zealand, there's the application fee of $180. It's annually renewed for $95 a year. Then we also have just a couple more things. We do have a screening number if you are going to work in the Department of Education. That takes about 2 weeks. And these are all things that if you do talk to either Rachel or myself about coming over, we can help you with. But yeah, your teacher's registration is your main one here in Western Australia. And then finally, you're working with children's card, which is a paper form that you fill out when you arrive in WA. And again, we can help you with that here in the office.
Cool. Do you get that? So if you have to get your working with children's after you've got your TRB when you arrive?
You don't have to get it after you have your TRB, but you have to be in Western Australia to get your working with children's card, because it is a paper form.
Okay.
So,
all right.
It's
cool.
But very, very quick and easy, and you can start teaching with a receipt that you've applied for your working with children's.
Right. Okay. Oh, good to know. That. South Australia, Russell. Let's pull you up.
Yes, thanks, guys. So, just get that over. There we go. Yeah. So life in beautiful South Australia. South Australia is not as big as WA. It's probably about half the size. But, you know, fairly similar with the climate, you know, beautiful sunny summers and cold winters and that desert climate. But, you know, we're known as like a bit of a sleepy country town, but it's definitely woken up in the last couple of years with lots of projects and infrastructure and a lot of events happening down here. We're known to have some of the best wine regions in the world, some of the best seafood. So it's really, you know, family friendly, very family orientated, you know, lots of parks, lots of playgrounds. And, you know, although sometimes they can be hard to find the housing, but we're not as expensive as other cities in Australia, which is always good. So, yeah, beautiful, beautiful place, you know, really low crime rates, welcoming people, known for a real sense of community, especially in some of the regional parts, some of the regional schools I work with. They welcome international teachers just with open arms, and a lot of those international teachers have been placed into those regional areas, are still there, absolutely loving life and loving the school they're with. So yeah, it's being born and bred from here, it's a special place to me. So yeah, absolutely love it.
Yeah, I've never been lucky enough to go actually, but I've definitely drunken some of the wines from there. So please.
Best in the world.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So some of the
Where are you on the map?
opportunities we have down here in SA, we'll be looking at a lot of permanent roles. So a lot of permanent roles with Catholic schools, independent schools, some Christian schools, more so a lot of secondary, but primary a lot in the regional areas as well. So we're working on some primary metro roles at the moment, but a lot more secondary in the metro areas, as well as leadership executive roles. We've had our new office opened up for about a year and a half in Adelaide City. So yeah, it's going great.
Awesome. A few happy Kiwis there.
Yeah. And yeah, so registering in South Australia it can be very different in every state, and South Australia is a little bit different. But you can, if you're an international teacher, you can do pre-assessment with the TRB before you actually come over. So you've got to post all of your documents and your IDs and your qualification, and then the South Australian TRB can pre-assess your qualification, make sure it lines up with Australian standards. And then once you're actually here on the ground in Adelaide, that's when you can go in and register with the TRB. You do need your working with children check before you start that registration process. So that's something you can do offshore as well. So takes about 4 to 6 weeks, costs $206 for New Zealand educators, 110 annually to renew. And then there's obviously an extra cost for the overseas educators to have their qualifications assessed, which I think is at $297. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It can take a bit of time, especially at this time of year, but I generally say 6 to 10 weeks to all my educators to get their registration.
Oh. Nice. Another question to pop into the chat. What state are you interested in? You don't have to indicate at the moment, but if you may have already had made up your mind, or already have family or someone in either of those states? But it would be good to see where you're thinking. And Russell's going to tell you about how we support you.
Yeah, so we can support you in a wide variety of ways. Obviously, it's a complete free service to teachers. You know, we're very big on supporting the education community and education sector, and really helping teachers find the right role for them. We obviously get to know you, you know, on a personal level, and then help with any CVs, any interview preparation, any cover letters, any reference checks, stuff like that. Obviously, matching you to the right school. That's a big thing that we do here at ANZ UK, is matching the right educator to the right role. So it's obviously a benefit for you and the school, and then obviously the kids that you're going to be teaching. So that's a big thing for us. And then we submit you for roles on your behalf as well. We obviously go through those roles beforehand, make sure that it's something you want to go for, and then we can submit you to the school and ideally organise an interview as quick as possible. And then, yeah, digital interviews, online interviews, we can organise that when you're even overseas. I've got schools that are, you know, happily interview teachers overseas and offer contracts while they're overseas as well, to help sort of with that ease of mind with security for finding a job for when you move over to Australia.
Awesome. And do you find that they're able, well, do you get job offers before someone has registration in your states?
Yeah, definitely in South Australia. If a school moves very quickly and they're very efficient, they will definitely put out a letter of offer or a contract, knowing that that candidate is in the process of registration or just at the start of the process even. So yeah, that can happen for sure.
So if you were unsure, or you just wanted to, you know, you're open to either state, you could sort of try and actively secure a role and then jump into your teacher registration potentially after that.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
Salaries. I think we had Jake.
That's me. Yes, so teaching salaries in Western Australia, and I can probably speak to South Australia as well. Russell, a graduate teacher generally earns around somewhere between $85,000 and $90,000, depending on the context or the industry. So, you know, the Catholic schools may pay a little bit more, or the independent schools, but a graduate teacher in the public system in WA will start on around $87,000 at the top of the pay scale. So that's between 7 and 8 years in the Western Australia. You can expect to earn around $125,000 Australian. And it's quite similar now in South Australia as well. Another really good paying state. Ever so slightly lower, but that's sort of $79,000, $80,000 as a graduate, leading up to about $120,000 as a experienced or senior teacher. Obviously, as you step into leadership roles, it gets up a little bit further as well.
Great. And then they've got that nice 12% additional towards superannuation.
Sorry, Claire. Yes, I forgot to mention that. Yes.
I love that part.
WA with the compulsory 12%. So that is on top of your salary. So that's not taken from your salary. It is in addition to your full-time salary. 12% of your annual salary is put into super.
Yeah, which is incredible, really, when you add that into the package. Yeah, it's very good. And then we've got a little bit on incentives. I think we've had a couple of questions on this one as well. I think we've got you down for that one too, Jake.
Sorry, I was answering questions in the chat and trying to do two things
sorry.
at once. So regional incentive, and it actually was about regional incentives as well.
Perfect.
So Western Australia being so large, and South Australia does this as well. The further regional you go in Western Australia, the more likely you are to get regional bonuses or regional incentives. So that can be anything from subsidised housing and subsidised rent, salary packages, relocation bonuses, and all the way up to if you're working in very, very remote areas. So think up in the Kimberley, up in the desert, it can be up to about $25,000 a year in bonus pay. plus free housing, plus free utilities, plus flights back to Perth throughout the year. Also in Western Australia, you do have a graduate teacher allowance, so you do get a small bonus each year for the first few years as graduate teacher. Then finally, we do have some schools, and we do need to stress this in both South Australia and Western Australia, some schools for specific roles in the independent or Catholic system will offer visa sponsorship. However, they are quite unusual, and as Claire said at the start of the webinar, they're generally for roles in secondary schools or ed support centres, particularly focused on your science, English, home economics, design and technology, woodwork, those very hard to staff roles, and they're almost always either very outer suburban or regional and remote.
Right. And Russell, accommodation?
Yep. So with some of those regional roles in WA and SA that Jake was talking about, schools can definitely help out with regional accommodation. Some schools can potentially supply a house at a subsidised rate, or they can supply a house as part of the contract. They can help out with subsidised rental accommodation. Also, a lot of the rentals in those areas are going to be a lot cheaper than in the cities as well. So I've seen a lot of teachers save a lot just by renting houses in regional communities and regional schools. There's a potential to share with other teachers, just depending on the school setup, and they can have temporary accommodation that may be provided as well. So it just depends on the school and what they're offering and what they can do. I've even seen schools that can offer vehicles and cars to help out with people, help out with teachers while they're relocating, and even furnished houses as well. I've seen a school furnish a house and help out with furniture and stuff like that. So yeah.
It's pretty good. Pretty nice. They appreciate good teachers. Rachel.
Yeah, so I think we did touch on this earlier on, but at ANZUK UK, we do work with a lot of different schools, those including private and independent schools, the faith-based schools, like the Catholic schools that you get, mainstream government schools, SEN schools, which is special educational needs, and then you also have the co-ed schools and the single-sex schools as well. And whatever your preference is or where your experience is, that's where we'll aim to get you out to.
Yeah. And I think one last question, when are you looking or thinking of going? And that could be visa dependent, but in the ideal world, when are you aiming to get over to Australia? Oh, I haven't given you much time. Sorry, I've flipped on over. But yeah, if you did get a chance, if you can pop that in the chat, and Jake and Rachel will give you a bit of an idea. These are current roles at the moment. And I might try and do some question answer.
Sure. Yeah, I can talk through a few of the roles that we've got going at the moment. Home economics teacher is in Perth, permanent full-time at a Catholic school about 35 minutes south of the city. So home economics being textiles, sewing, cooking would be a fantastic role at a growing Catholic school. Humanities teachers, so history, geography, civics sort of teachers, again, in the Perth CBD, about 25 minutes south of the Perth CBD. We have some roles that are contract, some roles that are permanent in that one in the public system. What else? Oh, special ed teachers. So ed support teachers, ed support system in Western Australia is really good. There are very small classes, high needs kids with sometimes up to 5 education assistants in the classroom. One school that we're working with has 5 positions going for next year, so there is a real demand for special education teachers. And yeah, maths teachers and English teachers. I'll add maths and English teachers. Anyone who's a qualified maths or English teacher is very well regarded in Western Australia at the moment, in both the Catholic, independent and public space.
Fantastic. Plenty going on. And Russell.
Yeah, so the hot jobs we've got going on in South Australia at the moment. So we're looking for a science teacher in regional South Australia. That one would be in Port Augusta. So it's a full-time permanent role starting in January 2026. It is a Christian school, so you really need to be an active Christian to apply for it. And they can offer potential sponsorship as well. So that's a really good role. Another one we've got is an English teacher role in another regional South Australian town up in Whyalla. That's a full-time permanent role starting January next year. That is with a Catholic school. We also have primary teacher roles in a few different parts of regional South Australia, Roxby Downs, Whyalla, and Port Augusta. They have full-time roles starting in January 2026 with really good, significant financial incentives. They're small Catholic schools. And the last one is a maths teacher, once again in regional South Australia, full time starting in January 2026, but open to a term two start. And that is with a beautiful Catholic school as well, in one of our regional towns here in SA.
Fantastic. Okay. So where to from here? The process. So, and I think we've just had a question as well from Patrick around, sorry, I just had to read through the questions, around once you have mutual recognition, would the process then start? So generally you would start the process once you have the visa. So once you've actually secured your skilled visa or your working holiday visa, or if you're from New Zealand, then whenever you're ready, but you need to have the visa first, just because sometimes it takes 6 months, sometimes it takes 9 months, and it's hard for us to actively put you out for schools when we don't know when you're actually going to be able to get there. We can still have conversations with you and things, but for example, Patrick, once you've got your visa, your right to work in Australia, and if you then got your mutual recognition, then we would start the process at that point. So initial contact, you would speak to someone in the global team. It could be me, but depending on where your location is, we have got global consultants in other geographies around the world as well. So speak to the global team, and then we would connect you with the right person in Australia. They'll get to know you, as Russell has said, understand what kind of school you're looking for so that they can make a good match for you. And then they get into work and start talking to the contacts in their schools, and trying to find the best role for you. From there, the job offer, that would sort of happen next, and at that point then the global team will sort of step back in a little bit and try and support you through the registration process to help you with the admin and the paperwork, and we'll get you cleared for work. So the scenario is ultimately is that you're fully cleared, you've got your job, and that's all done before you actually arrive into Australia ready to go. So we've given you a pretty brief overview, and I know people have asked questions in the chat, which is great. We can carry on doing that now if we haven't got to all your questions. I'm not sure whether there's any, if you want to address any just over the call here that you've seen. Sometimes it's easier to talk to. Are there any questions there, Jake or Russell, that just can't quite pull up?
I can speak to it.
Okay.
So there's just been one more come through about experience. I've been trying to sort of answer them as they go along. With experience, look, we have found roles for graduate teachers. So as long as you've finished your degree, and you're able to be registered in the state that you're interested in teaching in, obviously, like so many things, experience is important. However, if you're qualified to teach and you're able to get registered, certainly worth reaching out to us, and we can start looking for a role for you.
Yeah,
and
definitely
I'm
the
not,
same here as well, Joe.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, depending on your visa, if Colleen, I'm not sure if you'd be looking at a skilled visa or not, but sometimes there is a little requirement for minimum experience there, because it's points based, but I don't know how much.
That'd be 4 years.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions that we haven't got to? So I can get a visa before a job offer. Yes, Patrick, I'd recommend reaching out to Marlene or an immigration advisor to talk to you about your options with the visas. I will send out a follow-up email tomorrow with a recording of this session, and I'll have some other links in there for you and some resources as well. So I will send a follow-up to this.
Sorry, I'm just typing at pace there, Claire, trying to answer some questions for you.
So
yes,
yeah.
all teachers, all states in Australia, if you are going to teach, you do need to be registered with the relevant state board, regardless of whether you're secondary, special needs, primary.
Oh, that's just the timing. We do run other webinars. We've done a Melbourne-based one before, and we do have the General Teach in Australia ones, so keep an eye out for those. And we have got previous recordings of those as well. I'll put a recording of those in the follow-up too. And we've got an office in Brisbane, Nicolette, as well, so we can support you there. And Jen, we've actually got 4 offices in Victoria, so we can certainly support you in that state. Okay, I think we've pretty much, is there any other questions? Yeah, I'll put that in for you, Jen. I'll put the previous recordings in, or you can actually go into the blog and search under the blog and you'll see the previous recordings there as well. Great. But otherwise, thank you very much for joining us. As I said, I will follow through and you'll get a recording of this. You'll get some extra resources, and then any questions, you can just reach out. Yeah, and we look forward to hearing from you. And I know the visa process is a big job, but it's worth it. And I mean, it leads to settlement, so it's a great one to have. The working with children's check, Russell, you can get that processed while they're in Felix there.
Yeah.
You should be able to, you can do it from New Zealand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just need to provide a South Australian address.
Okay. And we don't do TEFL at all. We don't do that. We just work with the education, the primary, secondary, early childhood sectors. All right. Well, thanks everybody. And thank you so much, Rachel, Russell and Jake, for joining us and sharing your knowledge. We appreciate you joining us, and I'll make sure I've got the recording, which I'll stop recording now if I can work out how to stop recording. Cool. Okay. All right. Yeah. Any